As for the Cougars in Washington and the season that lies ahead, Robbie Bullough previews the team and takes us to practice just down the street from our BYU TV studios.
BYU concluded the 2009 season with an 11-2 record, winning 10 or more games for the fourth consecutive year, and finished the season ranked 12th in the nation after dismantling Oregon State in the Mako Bowl, Las Vegas. The 2010 squad will have to replace several starters, including 9 players who earned all-conference honors last season. The most high-profile position battle entering the 2010 campaign is at quarterback, where the Cougars replaced the winningest play caller in school history in Max Hall. Of the 4 quarterbacks on the roster, the battle has become a 2-man race. Head coach Bronco Mendenhall says junior Riley Nelson and highly touted true freshman Jake Heaps are dead even.
Riley and Jake are slightly ahead of James and Jason recovering from the mission with a lot of potential, but that's no new news.
Nelson is a very mobile quarterback who has the ability to run, while Heaps is a traditional drop-back passer. Quarterbacks coach Brandon Doman says BYU has not ruled out a potential 2-quarterback system.
I don't think it's out of the question. Yeah, I think that the 2 guys are so different and so distinct in what they do and what their strengths are that I would envision that there would be a chance something like that could happen. It might be a good duo, so we don't know yet, and we'll kind of see how it goes.
Ultimately, the decision rests with the head coach.
Coach Mendenhall for sure, but we've already had several conversations. I'm sure we'll meet a few more times before we make that decision, but fortunately in this particular case, that's coach's decision.
Aside from the quarterback position, BYU also replaces the school's all-time leading rusher, Harvey Unga. J.J. DeLuigi and Zed Mendenhall will likely start in the backfield for the Cougars this season.
It leaves a big opportunity for all us other guys that have been kind of in the shadow of him, and now it's just our turn to step up and be the playmakers.
All-American Dennis Pitta and all-conference standout Andrew George leave a huge hole at the tight end position. Half a dozen players are competing to fill those big shoes in a battle that is still wide open.
Happens every 2 or 3 years, and we look forward in our program to dealing with this on a 2 to 3 year basis.
While BYU lost several key starters on offense, the Cougars will replace even more starters on defense. 6 of 11 defensive starters are gone, including 3-time all-conference lineman Jan Jorgensen. Romney Fuga will anchor the D-line while Jordan Pendleton returns as strong side linebacker. The middle linebacker position is still wide open and is one of the most intriguing position battles in fall camp. The most experience on defense is in the secondary, where the Cougars return 3 of 4 starters, including safety Andrew Rich.
I like the experience we have in the secondary. Those guys are playing extremely well. We got to get up to speed in the front end, the front 7, the D-line and the linebackers, but right now we're playing pretty well.
The defense will be tested early as BYU faces some of the best quarterbacks in the country in the early weeks of the season, beginning with Washington's Jake Locker in the season opener on September 4th.
It's definitely a challenge for us, play some of the best quarterbacks in the country. It's not every year that you can play against a selection of quarterbacks like that, so we're looking forward to it. It's going to be a challenge, like I said, but that's why we play the game.
Coach Mendenhall hopes to have a 2-deep depth chart mostly in place by tomorrow, when the Cougars will transition to game preparation for Washington next Saturday.
Robbie Bullough joins us in studio. You're now the expert for us. You've been to practice. Which quarterback do you think is going to win the job?
I think Riley Nelson will be the one that does it, but if it were me, I think you'd go with a 2-quarterback system. Exactly what Florida did in 2006. They won a national championship with Tim Tebow and Chris Leak, a running quarterback, throwing quarterback. Tebow later wins the Heisman. I think a 2-quarterback system could work with BYU.
Well, next week, you'll have the chance to break the guys down. One's a lefty, one's a righty. One has a little experience, one has no experience. So we look forward to that report. There may be more pressure on the defense than whoever's going to play quarterback at BYU because, as you mentioned in your piece, the Cougars face 4 of the top quarterbacks in the country right out of the gate.
Yeah, and 3 of the 4 linebackers are going to be brand new, and mobile quarterbacks caused some problems for BYU in the past, especially last year. But I think it helps that, especially in fall camp, they've been able to practice against Riley Nelson, who himself is a mobile quarterback.
Right.
So the defense is getting better by playing against a mobile quarterback that's on their own team right now.
What have you noticed recently about the talk of which conference you're going to be in years to come, as opposed to the here and now? What impact's that having on the players?
The players, don't even know about it. I know Riley Nelson the other day, when they asked him, he said, "This is the first I've heard about it. You're the one telling me." Bronco Mendenhall says the same thing. So the players are trying not to think about it, and in many cases it's probably true. They really don't know about it. This is the first they're hearing of it. They're just ready to play football. They're not going to watch the game on TV anyway. They're going to play no matter what conference they're in, no matter what network is showing it. They just want to be out there and play and win ball games, most importantly.
All right, Robbie, thank you. Nice job.
Thanks.
And here's what's ahead for BYU in 2010. The home opener against Washington, then over to Air Force at Florida State. And Nevada comes in on September 25th. Nevada recently accepting an invitation to join the Mountain West Conference. October's battles in Logan at Utah State, then home for San Diego State. On the road at TCU, the Horned Frogs ranked as high as 6th in the country leading into the season. Home games with Wyoming and UNLV. The Rebels come to town to kick off the November slate. BYU goes to Colorado State on November 13th and home for New Mexico. And, of course, the game of all games, November 27th in Salt Lake City, meeting for the final time as conference opponents, BYU at Utah.